Welcome back to State of Play. Our topic today is immigration policies in the United States of America. We're very lucky indeed. We have a very special guest. He was the past president of the American Immigration Lawyers Association. He's a partner with Ulmer and Byrne and a major force on this front. Welcome to David Leopold.
Thanks for having me.
So, you are a very effective voice on this issue and also a very passionate voice on this issue. How is it and why is it that you became so involved in this area?
That's a great question, Mayor. I am the son of a Holocaust survivor. So I think at bottom, that's probably what led me to this, having been raised at the knee of a refugee, having a family that's, my own family is split over continents forever because of a government. So I think that wasn't a conscious move, but I think at bottom, that's probably what led me into this work.
Yeah. Well, that's a compelling story. You also seem not very happy with the Trump administration. To what extent was it more than just some harm done during his administration?
Oh my gosh, Mayor. It was unprecedented. The level of cruelty, the level of destruction. I mean, we can list many of them. I mean, I think most people will think about the separation of children at the border. I would call that kidnapping. They took children coming in as refugees with their parents, tried the parents for a criminal offense, and took the kids, used it as a pretext to take the kids and put them into a system that is not designed to reunite the children, because they put them into a system that was designed for unaccompanied children, kids who came by themselves. It was an intentional assault, not only on immigration and asylum, but on the principle of what this country is supposed to be about what this American experiment is. And that was child separation. Internally, they destroyed families for 4 years by going after moms and dads, grandparents, dreamers, young immigrants, as opposed to going after national security risks and people who would do the country harm, as President Obama had done in the last 2 years of his administration. As a matter of business immigration, they restricted global companies from bringing in highly skilled workers. They specifically focused on immigrants of color. Everybody pretty much knows about the Muslim ban, but go to Columbus, Ohio, and talk to the Mauritanian population down there that suffered an onslaught and a violent attack, as it were, by U.S. immigration, by the Trump administration. We know how President Trump referred to African countries, and that's really what he thought of African countries, African Americans, immigrants of color. I could just go on and on. The destruction was enormous. It is reparable in many cases, but it's going to take a long time.
So, what policies, I mean, if you were advising President Biden now, which you may be, I don't know, what would be the 2 or 3 major policies you think he needs to initiate in order to put us on the correct course?
Well, I think, mostly in the news has been the border, and it's a very tough issue. It's an issue that represents many of the failings of American policy over many decades. Every one of the presidents that we've had over the last several decades has had to deal with immigrants coming in, migration from the southern border, and President Trump is no different. What he's doing, I hope, that is different, and I think is wise, is focusing on the root causes of the migration, focusing on the economic problems, the climate change issues that have led to hurricanes and other problems in Central America, which have caused people to come up here. And my hope is that President Biden, through Kamala Harris, who's going to be leading, the vice president, who's going to be leading the diplomatic effort, will finally get to the root cause. But I think we also have to remember that this isn't going to happen overnight. This isn't a simple problem. This is a problem that dates back decades, and it may take that kind of time to fix it. So that's with respect to the border. With respect to internally, I think they've started off on the right foot. They've reversed many of the most abhorrent Trump policies of going after families. And now they're going after people who really pose a danger, a calculable danger to the community, as opposed to, young immigrants who came here as children called dreamers, as opposed to family members and hardworking folks, essential workers now we know during the pandemic. So the internal enforcement, I think, is issue number 2. And issue number 3 is really business immigration and lifting the restrictions that were put on many businesses. We operate in a global economy, obviously. And with that global economy comes people into the country and out of the country. And by closing off our borders and by restricting business immigration, the Trump administration really, without any rational basis, rational thought, really hurt our business immigration in this country.
So President Biden, along with obviously Vice President Harris, is trying to correct policies we've had in place that still put limits on who can come into the United States. And I guess my question to you, as someone who's wrestled with this all the time, does it make sense to put those kind of limits in an environment where climate change is only growing more threatening, where we need the talent wherever we can find it, where we need to rejuvenate our society? Do you think that it makes sense to even have any of these limitations?
Well, I think we need to also think about what this country needs internally, what our economic needs are, the needs of U.S. workers and U.S. families, making sure that our people are healthy and strong and able to work. But I understand what you're saying in terms of the limits. So I think what needs to happen, Mayor, is that Congress needs to really roll up its sleeves here and think through these questions you just asked, because these are huge policy questions. These are thorny, difficult questions. These are questions really at bottom about who we are as a nation, who we are, our culture, where we've been and where we're going, who do we let in and who do we not let in. If we come at it with the premise of having a regulated immigration system, my vision, my personal vision, for what it's worth, would be that we have a system that respects the rule of law, that's fair, that offers asylum and refugee seekers a reasonable, fair, full opportunity to make their case, and treats everybody who wants to come here, with dignity and respect. I think there should be limits. What those limits are, I think, is a major policy question. But we can't get to that question unless Congress, and mainly right now what that means is the Republicans in Congress, really are willing to make some difficult choices and move forward on this issue, rather than using it as a political weapon to keep from moving forward.
Who are the leaders in Congress you think that could provide that bridge that you're talking about, where Democrats and Republicans could fashion something together?
Well, I think the Democratic leadership has been standing up for it. The House has passed 2 important bills over the last couple of months: the bill that protects dreamers, a bill that protects farm workers. Hopefully, they'll be considering the essential workers. There was a letter that was sent recently to the president from members of Congress. Unfortunately, they're operating in an environment, the Democrats are, and the president is, where there's no reach out from the other side. Would that the Republicans would put the country first. And I don't mean to get partisan here. I think I'm speaking out of what I see as a matter of fact. There really needs to be some ground given by the Republicans. They need to come together and start working with this president and with this Congress, with the leadership in both houses.
Well, you've been terrific. I mean, at one time, the Republicans wanted H-1B1 folks here because of the talent. But thank you so much, David Leopold, for being on State of Play.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me, Nick.